Yeah, Brian, obviously, 3-0 win, that's great. It looked like in the second half that you kind of let off a little bit. The team didn't, they're down to 10 man. They come out, they're trying to slow you down physically. How hard is it for the team to stay focused? Is that something that you're going to work on or talk about?
No. I mean, look, Maz, I'll accept responsibility for perhaps some of what you guys might have seen as dysfunctional or not killer instinct, whatever you guys want to call it. I'll take responsibility for that because when you have to make multiple subs, sometimes that upsets the rhythm. I could have kept guys out there after the red card. Maybe the scoreline goes up 4, 5, 6, whatever. But I'm trying to get guys off the field, trying to save some legs, trying to get some guys some minutes, and so I don't think it was anything to do with the players. I think it's just my decision to make changes. And then Javi's, unfortunate cramping, of his thigh. He had a little problem last game. We had to take him off. That was an unplanned sub because maybe knew who needed to come out. And the whole second half was a little dysfunctional after the red card. But that's more on me than the players. I think the players were fine. I was happy I was able to give Leo a few minutes. And look, he's still raw, but I liked what I saw. Danny came on and did fine. Shane's a veteran guy. Kellen's a veteran guy, so those changes were fine. AB getting a few minutes is okay because how do we line up against Vancouver? So, yeah, okay, you guys are all hungry, or the fans are hungry maybe for another goal when they get a red card. But look, when you make that many changes, it's hard to sustain any sort of rhythm.
But what got you there was positive play to get to 2-0 in the first half. A quick start, triangular movement, in and out of space.
Well, we got a quick start in the second half. And I don't know if it was really a foul on Freddie. Some of you referees out there can, address that. Now, was Freddie trying to win the ball? Was it a ticky-tack foul? I mean, I've seen it called both ways, but Jimmy scores 4-0. Game's really over, and we're talking about a different narrative, that the Sounders came out in the second half and started on the front foot, not they got a red card and we're slow. So.
Go over to Mickey next.
Coach, just your thoughts on João Paulo's performance. Obviously, comes up with an incredible goal. Has had a knack to do that this year a couple of times.
I'm going to tell you guys a story privately that I don't usually do, but I'll give it to you today, Mickey, because I'm in a good mood. So I was going to just murder Nuhu and Yaimar for their sloppy play, leading up at 2-0, maybe a couple of defensive lapses. But the only thing that kept me going and into halftime and into the locker room was João Paulo's goal. So I didn't yell at Nuhu or Yaimar, and he was the reason why those two guys got off the hook. And we laughed about that after the game. We kind of chuckled about it, because after the game and the win, it was fine. But JP's goal was such a good goal. I mean, I can't even, I watched it like 8 times in my office just now. I mean, he's 1 against 4. He dribbles down the field. Some people don't think JP's fast, but he ran past 4 of their players. And then he had the savvy at the last minute to cut the ball back against the last guy with his left foot in the goal. And you see Abukar, who's a good player, trying to save the ball off the line, and the ball goes in. I mean, what a tremendous goal that was. I'm sure somebody's going to ask me about Jimmy Medranda and his contributions to this team this year. I'm sure one of you guys will. But that golazo that Jimmy scores against Portland, some of the goals that Raul has scored for this club this year, I mean, JP's goal was right there with him because of his mentality, his grit, his determination, his willingness to just, against all odds, make a play. That was such an important goal for us. I mean, that was great. I'm actually speechless. I can't. Mickey, I can't finish my sentence, so I apologize, but that was a great goal.
Jeremiah.
Yeah, that goal was probably a big reason why, but the fans seem to be giving you a standing ovation at halftime. I'm not sure I've ever seen that. Someone told me it happened after the first game in 2009, but did you notice that? What did you think of that first half?
Well, I thought the first half was good. I mean, you asked me the other day if we thought the last game we played was our most complete performance. I would say that half was pretty darn close, Jeremiah, because if you look at the goals, the way those started, right? So pressing, well, starting off the game at home, because our home record, again, you guys have written that it's not great, but we started off on the front foot. That goal came from Jimmy Medranda's pressure higher up the field, and then Will, and then Christian. I mean, that's how you want to start games. And then the second goal, okay, we get another well-deserved goal. Jimmy smashes the ball in. Again, I think it was JP's subtle touch to get it to JP or to Jimmy. And the whole build-up sequence, Will's contributions to the game. I'd love to talk about Will. And then you get JP's final act of that first half. If the fans gave us a standing ovation, well, they appreciate good soccer and they're a very smart audience, because that was a pretty darn good half of soccer.
Other questions in the room? Yeah, Moss.
Yeah, I'll bite. Will Bruin.
Thank you, Maz.
Right, just the runs he makes, not only in the box, but outside the box, and Christian talked about this, it opens up space.
Well, I would say that I'd love to keep Will inside the box because that's where he needs to be. But I think Colorado tonight, tactically, the way they set up and how aggressive their Trusty and Abukar were, I mean, that gave Will tons of opportunities to kind of make that inside-out run, or we'd get behind with Christian checking and going, or Alex getting in behind, or Medranda getting in behind that space. I mean, so I think the way the two teams set up a little bit, it was a perfect launching point for Will's really good performance, because he was really good. I'm a little bummed he didn't score, but he did a lot of good things for the club.
His hold-up play.
Hold-up play, running in behind, his effort, his work rate. I mean, he's a team guy, and I love it.
Ari.
Hey, Coach, so Colorado is a very good team. They've been up at the top of the West with you guys all season. Do you think the early goal from Christian was the biggest factor maybe in being able to pull a result like that against the...
No, Ari. I mean, look, we scored early goals in the first minute, and then we've, had challenges for the rest of the game. Sometimes that really, really, really early goal doesn't really make the game go in your favor. Now, I think our record, if you guys, again, the statisticians in the room, I think we're pretty good when we score the first goal, yes. But I think that second goal in the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, whatever it was, minute, might have sunk them, because then they flipped. Then Robin put Mark Anthony Kay a little higher up the field, and they almost changed their formation based on us scoring a second goal. And then I think we got a little bit of control of the game. So I'm not so sure it was the first goal. I'd probably argue with you that it was the second.
Other questions in the room? Okay, we'll go up to Zoom. We'll come back, Jeremiah. Sorry. We'll go up to Zoom. Matt, I think you've got one or two up there.
Yep. We'll go straight to Jada Evans, Seattle Times. Jada, go ahead.
Thanks. Congratulations, Brian, on the win. Christian was also talking about the defense, and you mentioned it too. It seemed like Javier had some good blocks for you. I wanted to see if you could talk a little bit about his play. And then with Raul, he had the injuries. Was it as simple as what you said earlier, as not wanting to push him, or is there anything more as far as his hamstring?
Jada, thank you for that question about Javi, because that was a good one. Because again, at halftime, I made, the remark about yelling at Nuhu and Yaimar and Steph coming up big, but Javi cleared 2 balls off the line, and I thought Javi was very good. Again, he had some really good interceptions of critical passes at the end, and I thought he was really good, so thank you for that. As far as Raul is concerned, he was in training yesterday because he was questionable, and he tried to get through training. But he took a shot and he felt still a little bit something there, so we took him off as a precaution. So, he'll continue to be day by day, and, whether he goes to Peru or not, we'll see. They have to make a decision on whether, they call in an injured player. But if he goes to Peru or not, it doesn't really matter to us because he'll still be day-to-day for us, and obviously when he's ready, we'll happily welcome him back.
Not seeing any other hands via Zoom, so I'll give it one last couple of seconds here for any questions for Coach Schmetzer via Zoom. No, Alex, go for you, take it away in the room.
Sounds good. We'll close with a few in here. And just to clarify, when Coach referenced earlier the club's record when scoring first, we can confirm the club is now 14-0-4 this regular season when it scores the first goal. So for anybody that was looking for that nugget, Jeremiah, why don't you go for it?
Yeah, Jimmy obviously has a goal, or he had 2 goals, I guess we could say today. He's been playing very well. He's got a couple assists recently. What about his play recently have you seen, and what can you say about him?
I can say a lot about him. I mean, he's super talented. He's a really good defender, which is his number one job, and he scores golazos. I mean, maybe that goal wasn't quite as good as the goal that he scored against Portland, but he strikes a very clean ball. He's technically very, very good. Now, as far as Jimmy and his progress with our club, what I would say is that, he had a little bit of a checkered past in the sense that once he left Kansas City, he was kind of injury prone and all that. And I would say kudos to, Chris Cornish and Sean. Those guys do a good job with his preparation and training. And I think Jimmy has found a second home. I think he really enjoys the guys here, and he feels like he's contributing. And his mental state also helps his physical play. So I can't say enough good things about Jimmy. He's been very good since he came here.
Yeah, go ahead.
This was your third 9-point week, earning about half of your points this season in those 3 weeks. What does that say about the strength of this squad and its consistency?
Well, it shows that we're mentally very strong because 3 games in a week is always challenging. It's always very hard to kind of, come out of those weeks unscathed. What I would say is that group in the locker room believes that every game is a winnable game. And so when you have that mindset to start the week, Sporting KC away from home after a tough loss, then you follow that up with a tricky opponent in San Jose, and then you end with a game at home against a team that's chasing you, nipping at your heels. I would say that's a pretty impressive week. It's a really impressive week by my book. And it's all kudos to that group in there. I might say one other thing, since you asked. The group always believes they can win every game. And the reason for that is because the entire team was in that locker room. Raul and Benazet and everybody, they're all there to support each other. And I think just the physical play on the field of changing squads, rotations, all of my coaching decisions, all of that, I think that's all secondary. I think that group in there is a very tight group. And they always play for each other. And I think that's what gives them the best chance in some of these challenging weeks.
Maz, you have a follow-up?
Yeah, Brian, can you talk about your transition game from defense to offense? Because even when Jean Paul scored that goal, you guys were the 37th minute on to about 5 minutes. It looked like they had the run play, and then suddenly they just flipped the script, and down the road he goes to score that goal.
Okay, it's interesting. I'll have to watch from the 37th minute on, Maz. I'll watch that when I review the film. That was an individual goal that happened because of JP's mentality and his toughness, and to the previous question about just the mentality of this group. What I would say is we're kind of morphing into a transition team. It helps when you have Jordan Morris and Christian and guys that can run in the channels and all of that. But I'm not so sure that we were at our best in our transition moments today. Now, maybe you call the first goal because it was a transition in change of possession. Maybe that's what you're saying. But it's not like we were defending deep and we pick the ball up and then we sprint down the field. I mean, I didn't think we did that very well. I actually would say that we could actually do better than that. Now, we have a great kid in Josh Atencio who can open up his legs. I don't mind when he storms forward. Christian can do it. Will can do it. But we have to play to the strengths of our team. And I think we could have done a little bit better job, actually, in our transition moments during the course of the game. Leo Chu, when he came on, I mean, he gave us, again, that little snippet, that little hint of what he can bring, but he can help us in transition.
So you're more opportunistic.
Yeah, for sure. Whether you want to call it opportunistic or tactics or whatever, yeah. In any league in the world, whether it's the Bundesliga, La Liga, the EPL, when the ball turns over before your opponent has a chance to set up defensively, that's the best chance to score goals.
Mickey?
Yeah, just kind of some thoughts on where the team's at right now with
First place.
First place, and that kind of leads into my question.
It's an easy question.
Kansas City obviously came up with a win, and it looks like it's going to be kind of a dogfight down the stretch for that top spot in the West. So I'm just kind of curious, kind of what the messaging is going to be as you got some tough games coming up.
Same message as always, Mickey. One game at a time. Next guy steps up. They're all tough kids. The mentality of this group, the togetherness of the culture of that locker room, it's their team. It's the same message. You know why it's the same message? Because everything I just said is the truth. That's a good team in there. Very proud of that team. Very proud of that team.